In my community, there's a very unfortunate problem with drug users and the needles that they use being left anywhere scattered about for anybody to find. And I am a part of a group of volunteers who goes through the community and we analyze which places need to be cleaned up first, prioritize it, and we go through and we clean up those places. Last week I attended a meeting in which we were discussing what part of our town needs cleaned up most, and the problem came up that there's a water park. It's a free water park for kids to use, and a lot of drug users have been found there, and nobody's doing anything about it. We cleaned up the area, and we picked up 2 full 5-gallon buckets full of just dirty used needles from all of these drug users. And we were trying to evaluate the situation and find out the best way to notify the public that this is such an issue. It's a very big issue and what we need to do about it, because we can't have kids stepping on needles. Nobody needs to be using drugs in a public park, especially one that kids utilize. It's free, so you get a lot of low-income people there, especially when it's really hot, that just want their kids to have a good time and not have to worry about anything. Well, there were a few people in the group that are rehabilitated drug users that brought up the concern that publicizing this information and putting the photos out there of all of the buckets full of dirty needles that we have cleaned up could cause a few former drug users or people that are in the process of trying to better their lives, it could cause them to relapse or trigger them into feeling insecure and like they want to use again, even though they're trying to better themselves. And unfortunately, this is a minority in the group that I am a part of, so not too many people were actually hearing these individuals out and listening to what they were saying. And there's one person who is in the group who clearly takes a more dominant role and a more leadership role, who dismissed the idea that it could be an issue publicizing all of these needles and said, pretty much, too bad, so sad. They shouldn't be using drugs in the first place, and why should we cater to their needs when we need to clean up after them consistently? And another one of the people who used to do drugs all the time, I brought up the fact that, those people are trying to better themselves, and who are we to judge what affects them? Why don't we do what we can to help them, like we're trying to help the community overall? And this was a very unpopular idea. It was shut down pretty quickly, and you could tell that the 2 people who were in the minority in this group felt like their opinion didn't matter and nobody was listening to them. It was really clear that a groupthink mentality kind of overtook the meeting, and it no longer became a beneficial meeting for the community. It just kind of became a bash fest for all of the drug users. And since we have a few rehabilitated people in our group, it was very clear that that was not an acceptable way for the conversation to go. The best way for us to incorporate everybody in the community would be for us to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. We need to step outside of ourselves for just a second to see that other people's opinions matter, and to see that sometimes some things we say can come across in a very inappropriate way when we just mean well. There's places under the bridge locally, there's a local bridge you have to cross to get into town, where drug users have also been found condensing themselves, and then they just leave dirty needles all over the place. And it's the same thing. We don't want to make anybody feel worse than they already should, but at the same time, the community needs to understand how big of a problem this is so everyone can come together to fix it. However, we can't just belittle those who are in the group. We can't ignore what they have to say just because we disagree with their lifestyle choices or who they used to be as a person. And I think the best way to do that is to just kind of put the shoe on the other foot and really have a heart-to-heart conversation where it goes 2 different directions. You need to have a listener, you need to have somebody who's speaking and communicating. And during this meeting, there was an awful lot of talking, but not a lot of hearing and not a lot of communicating.